Hi, happy Easter. For Christians, Christmas is a big celebration. It is a holiday season, and we spend a lot of money for Christmas dinner and to buy Christmas gifts. In Miracle Church, that's a big celebration for us. At Christmas time, we usually invite all the village. There are around 1,500 to 2,000 people attend for our Christmas dinner. Not only that, we spend a lot of money to buy gifts to the children and to the poor people. But when it comes to Easter, it is not as big as Christmas. I don't understand why we Christians do not celebrate Easter. But Easter is more important than Christmas. If you look at the Gospels, only two Gospels, Matthew and Luke, record the Christmas story. But about the Easter, all the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, narrate the Easter story. When it is recorded in all the four Gospels, that is very important. Look at what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15:14. Paul says, if Christ has not been raised, then all of our preaching is useless, and your faith is useless. He didn't say if there is no Christmas, but he says if Christ has not been raised, then our preaching is useless. Our coming to the church is useless. And whatever you are doing is useless. Your faith is useless. Because resurrection, Easter is pretty important. John Stott says Christianity, in essence, is a resurrection religion. The concept of resurrection lies at its heart. If you remove resurrection, Christianity is destroyed. So Christianity is destroyed. Therefore, resurrection is the very important thing for the Christians. But many people say Christ did not die on the cross. There are some theories floating around. Especially, there are three theories. One is the swoon theory, the second one is the kidnap theory, and the third one is hallucination theory. According to the swoon theory, they say Jesus Christ fainted. He did not die. When he was buried in the tomb, because of the dampness in the tomb, it revived Jesus, and Jesus came back to life, and he rolled away the stone, and he went away. When I read about that theory, I think I need more faith to believe that hypothesis than the resurrection story. Just think about that. A man who endured 40 minus 1 Roman floggings and who endured the nails uh, in his hands and in his legs, and who endured the spear that was pierced by his side, and he was buried in the tomb. Can you imagine that man got up, rolled the stone, and ran away? It is all false. I don't. It's not true. It's very difficult to believe that theory. And the second one is the kidnap theory, and it is also very difficult to believe that. You can ask me why it is difficult to believe. Because the disciples were very afraid. When Jesus was crucified, they all ran away. The Bible says only John was at the foot of the cross, and all the other disciples ran away. They were afraid of their lives. They locked themselves in the room, and they were very afraid. Think about these fearful disciples going to the tomb, which was sealed, which had a Roman seal, and which was guarded by Roman soldiers. Do you think they can roll the stone away and take away Jesus and kidnap the body of Jesus? It is very difficult to believe. And the third one is hallucination theory. According to this theory, people say that these disciples or hallucination, that Jesus was alive. I would like to read out one statement. by Gary Collins. He says hallucinations are individual occurrences. By their very nature, only one person can see a given hallucination at a time. They certainly are not something which can be seen by a group of people. Neither is it possible that one person can induce hallucination in somebody else. Since an hallucination exists only in the subjective, personal sense, it is obvious that others cannot witness it. So, can you imagine at one time 500 people hallucinated that Jesus is alive? So, you can simply dismiss that theory as well. But I would like to tell you, Jesus died on the cross. The truth about Jesus' death, the four gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, recorded that Jesus died on the cross. And again, look at the words of centurion, Mark 15:39. The centurion was there, he was amazed to see Jesus died, to see Jesus dead. Let us look at Mark 15:39. When the Roman officer who stood facing him saw how he had died, he exclaimed, "This man truly was the Son of God." So this centurion said Jesus died. And Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, they gave a proper burial. Only dead people are buried, not the people who live. So Jesus, because of that, we can say that Jesus died. And look at the witnesses: displaced tomb, the empty tomb, the gods. The empty tomb tells us that Jesus died. When Jesus was buried, he was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Luke says he was a good man, righteous man, member of the Jewish council, and did not agree with the Sanhedrin. So Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea gave Jesus the proper burial, but when the women went to the tomb, it was an empty tomb. And the second witness is the displaced stone. The stone is very large, Mark 16:5, and it is around 4 to 5 feet tall, and it's a very heavy stone, 1.5 to 2 tons weight. 20 men could not move it. So that is very big stone, and it tells us that Jesus rose again from the dead. Many times people think why the stone was rolled, because to get Jesus out of the tomb? No. Even if the stone was there, Jesus can go in and out, because if you read the Gospels, he went into the room which was locked in, and he came out of the room when the doors were closed. So the stone was rolled away, not because of Jesus to get out, but to let the people go in. So if you read in John in the Gospel of John, Peter and John went into the tomb. The women looked into the tomb because there was no stone in it. And now there are some contradictions in the Gospels. So, but some people say, since there are some contradictions, we don't believe it. But I would like you to listen to this. Some guy said about, for a philosopher, if something is not consistent, the law of contradiction says, this cannot be true. Throw it out. But the historian looks at these narratives and say, yeah, I see some inconsistencies, but I notice something about them. They are all secondary in details. So I would like to talk about this. Let us look at some inconsistencies. But these also tell that Jesus raised from the dead. Where the time when the women went to visit the tomb, Matthew says, at the dawn of the first day. Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. Mark 15:1 says, very early in the morning. Luke says, 24:1, very early in the morning. John in chapter 20, verse 1 says, while it was still dark. So all these words, they are synonyms. It tells us that the women went very early in the morning. And look at the women at the tomb. There are some inconsistencies. Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. It says, Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was a sinful woman, and Jesus drove away cast out 7 demons from her. And she followed Jesus after getting healed. And another Mary. Who was this another Mary? She was the mother of James the Less and the wife of Cleopas. And Mark adds one more woman, that is Salome. So Mark says Mary Magdalene, another Mary, and Salome. Who was Salome? She was the wife of Zebedee and the mother of John and James. And Luke adds one more woman. He says Mary Magdalene, another Mary, Salome, and Joanne. Who was Joanne? She was the wife of Chuza. Who was Chuza? He was the steward of Herod Antipas, the tetrarch. So these 4 women and some other women went to the tomb. And John 21 says it was only Mary Magdalene. All these women went to the tomb. And the angels, a great earthquake, and there was, Matthew says there was one angel, and Mark says a young man, it was obviously an angel, and Luke 24:4 says 2 angels, and John 20:12 says there were 2 angels. So these angels, so there are 2 angels. If you read the 4 Gospels, there are 2 angels and other women. So these though there are inconsistencies, these 4 Gospel writers agree that Jesus raised from the dead. So these inconsistencies are secondary. But if you look at carefully, we can deduce that there are 2 angels. When in Matthew, they saw only one angel. Then we can deduce that one angel on the outside, the other angel on the inside of the tomb. Like that, we can answer that inconsistency. Now, Jesus appeared to his disciples. His appearances also tell us that Jesus raised from the dead. So he appeared to Mary Magdalene. She got the privilege to see the resurrected Jesus first. So she was the first to see the resurrected Jesus. Then Jesus appeared to the other women, and he appeared to 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus. Luke chapter 24, verses 13 to 32. To Peter, Luke 24, verse 34. 10 disciples without Thomas. John chapter 20, 19 to 23. Thomas and other disciples. John chapter 20, 26 to 30. 7 disciples. John chapter 21, verse 1 to 14. To 500 disciples. 1 Corinthians 15:6. James and other apostles. 1 Corinthians 15:7. And lastly, before his ascension, Luke chapter 24, verses 50 to 53. So my friends, after resurrection, Jesus appeared to many people, one time to 500 people. So physically, he appeared to his disciples 11 times. So these tell us that Jesus Christ was raised from the dead. The tomb could not hold of him. He was not here. When the women went to the tomb to see Jesus, actually they wanted to see the body of Jesus. But he is able to do more than we can ask or imagine. They could not imagine to see the resurrected Christ. But God gave them privilege to see the resurrected Jesus Christ. So they saw the Jesus, and they tell us that Jesus is alive. Today, I want to tell you, folks, on Good Friday, Jesus died, but there is Easter. I would like to ask you, maybe you're mourning, maybe you're in a sad situation like the disciples, but Easter is coming and Easter has come. What are you worrying today? Is anything making you worry? Are you worrying about your problems or financial problems or any other problem? Just like the disciples, you are also worrying. But I would like to tell you, there is Easter. He is risen and He is going to make a difference in your lives. And I would like to conclude this by quoting the verse from Romans 10:10. It says, let's go to Romans 10 and 10 says, if you believe that Jesus is Lord, that if you confess that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved. My friend, God has given you another opportunity to believe in Jesus. If you confess your mouth that Jesus is the Lord and believe in your heart that that Jesus was raised from the dead, you will be saved. You need not do anything. You cannot add anything or you cannot subtract anything. The price was fully paid, and you need not do all these rites. You cannot do it. You cannot earn salvation. What you cannot do, God did it. So, my friend, this is an invitation to you. This is the right time. If you lose this time, I don't know whether you will get another time in your life or not. But today, this is the very time that God is telling you, believe in your heart that God has raised Jesus from the dead, and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. If you confess it, you will be saved. God bless you.